So, let us now for first 5 minutes marvel at the amazing cardiovascular system. I'll tell you why. See, you have 5 liters of blood, presuming that you are 70 kg, so you have about 5 liters of blood, okay? And that 5 liters of blood is entrusted with the responsibility of supplying the nutrients, oxygen, removing carbon dioxide, from every cell in the body. Everywhere you have to gather, and then you have to process it, make sure that you maintain your homeostasis, somehow you maintain it. Now, however, you remember that 5 liters of blood is just not enough to, listen to this, 5 liters of blood is just not enough to adequately supply every cell every moment. Every cell every moment. Okay, it's not enough. It's not. If you were to ask me as to, well, I want to make sure that I have enough blood so that every cell in my body 24/7 is equipped with sufficient amount of oxygen and everything else, you will need about 25 liters of blood. But if you have 25 liters of blood, then you can imagine what is the size of heart you have. Okay. So the nature has given you only how much in the optimum design of your body that has evolved. How much of blood have you provided with? 5 liters of blood. So obviously the body, every moment the body needs to find out as to what is the requirement of a given tissue and respond accordingly. What do I mean by that? Well, by the very simple example, if you are sitting in a resting position, stand, walk, run, walk. Every time you see obviously that your skeletal muscles are going to need more blood. Okay, so I need to provide to the muscles. Okay, where do I get it from? What I can do is I can reduce the supply to the stomach. I don't need, you are not eating now. I'll reduce the supply to the alimentary canal, reduce supplies to the pancreas, and then divert it to the skeletal muscle so that the requirement of the skeletal. Now you are suddenly sitting down and you are applying yourself to solve a mathematical problem. Okay, so suddenly the blood from the muscles will be drawn and it will be which is engaged in solving a mathematical problem. Okay, if you want to hear something, if you are a music buff and you want to find out whether this is Malkans or Bhairavi, then suddenly that part of your brain which is there to analyze the auditory information, okay, will have more blood supply. So the food is in stomach. Okay, the stomach will have more blood supply. It may draw from intestine, but after about couple of hours, when the food has moved onward from the stomach into the duodenum, then the duodenum will have more supply, then it goes into the intestine. So depending on what organ needs more supply, the body is continuously monitoring and making sure that the blood is trafficked to that area where you need more blood. Point number 1. Secondly, okay, so you are sitting down in a position and then you have the end diastolic volume of about 110 or 120 ml. Hello? From where? I am talking of left ventricle. What am I talking about? Left ventricle. And diastolic volume is about 120 ml. And the ventricle has gone into systole. And about 70 ml of blood has been pumped. About 50 ml of blood is still there. 70 ml of blood is pumped. How much? 70 ml. In what position? You are sitting down, resting down. Okay. Now again, let us do the exercise. You get up and start walking and then running, and then suddenly a lot of signaling happens in your body, and 2 things happen. The heart starts pumping with a higher frequency. It was earlier beating with the frequency of 72 beats per minute. Now it has gone to 80, 90, 100. Okay, it will rapidly go up, and then the force of contraction has increased. As a result of that, in every beat, how much blood was being pumped out of the left ventricle, please? 70 ml. How much was it? 70 ml. Oh, come on, how can you make that mistake? Okay, the 120 ml was 120 ml of blood was there in the left ventricle. How much was there? Then it has gone into systole. Is all 120 ml pumped out? No. How much is still there? 50 is still there. So how much is pumped out? 70. Good. How much is pumped out? 70. What was the situation then? You were sitting down, resting. Now you have changed. Now you are running. Okay. As a result of that, the heart is pumping faster and heart is pumping more stronger. And as a result of that 70 ml now has gone to 90 ml. Are you with me now? Okay, so where is that blood going? That 90 ml or 100 ml with every beat, it is going from the left ventricle, it will go in the systemic circulation. Hello, from the systemic circulation, it will go all over the body. Okay, and then it will be collected into the veins. Okay, and then it will be collected into superior and inferior vena cava, and it will pour into which part of the heart? Right auricle. Where? Right auricle. So now right auricle is receiving how much of blood, please? When it is receiving blood, how much of blood? 90 or 100 ml. Let's take a round figure. 100 ml. How much of blood is pouring? 100 ml. Now when the right auricle goes into systole, how much of blood is going from the right auricle to the right ventricle? 100 ml. 100 ml. 100 ml. Which means the right ventricle, okay, now has to expand more. Earlier it was working on a volume of 70 ml per beat. Now it has to work on how much of volume per beat? 100 ml. So it has to expand more. Okay, the diastolic volume has to go up. It has to now accommodate how much of blood? 100 ml. Now listen the beauty of the heart. Once it has expanded to the degree of receiving 100 ml of blood, it is stretched more. And when the heart is stretched more, it contracts in such a way that it will expel 100 ml of blood. Are you getting the argument? So if from 100 if it goes to 110, it will again go into systole and it will expel 110 ml of blood, which will go to the lungs, from the right ventricle into the lungs. Are you done? So what are we learning? This heart has an amazing property that whatever amount of blood is being received either in the right ventricle or in the left ventricle, it is going to change every time your physiological state changes. It is going to receive that blood and contract so that what all was received will be pumped out. This is very important because just imagine if it receives 100 but pumps out only 95. Hello, then 5 ml will remain. If 5 ml remains in this beat, you may say that's okay. But if 5 ml also comes in the next beat, 5 ml also comes in the next beat, imagine within about 10-15 beats, what will happen to the heart? Congestion of blood will happen, damming of the blood will happen. That should not happen. Therefore, the heart has this amazing property of whatever amount of blood it has received, it will pump out all that, okay, and depending on whether you are talking of left ventricle, it will go to the rest. If you do right ventricle, it will go to the pulmonary circulation. This is called as Frank-starling mechanism. What did I say just now?
Frank-starling
mechanism. This is called as what? Frank-starling mechanism. So you please read about Frank-starling mechanism. Frank and Starling were two great scientists who worked in the about 1910 or 20, and in their honor this phenomena has given the name. Okay. Now, if you go back to our first lecture when we talked about frog, if you remember that if we were to cut away the heart from all the major blood vessels and all the nerve supply, and if you put it in a petri dish, there is an amazing thing that happens to the heart. What is it?
It will beat.
It will keep on beating. It will keep on beating with its own rhythm, on its own rhythm. Okay, all right. But that's okay. That's okay. So we can say that heart is self-sufficient as far as it has a pacemaker, so it will keep on beating. But that is not enough because when you are sitting down, if it is 72, that's fine. But if you start running, 72 is not a good idea. Okay, it has to go up. Okay, because it's changing every time. The world is changing. You are changing. So your heart needs to adjust. Needs to what? Adjust. And that phenomena of how it adjusts, for that we need to step out and into another field which we call as what? Autonomous nervous system. Now listen to this. So, although the heart has the capability to beat on its own at a particular rhythm or at a particular number of beats per minute or with a particular frequency, it can be changed depending on the requirement, and that change is brought about by the central nervous system. So, the brain controls it. Brain or the central nervous system controls it, and that part of the central nervous system which controls your heartbeat, since it is not in your voluntary control, you can't say that I am going to sit in my chair but I will make sure that my heart starts beating at 80, 90 or 100 beats, but that doesn't happen. It happens only when you start running. Okay, you don't control your the frequency with which your heart is beating, and therefore that part of your nervous system which controls the beats of your heart, we'll call it as what? Autonomous. It controls itself. And now I'll briefly tell you about the autonomous nervous system. Follow the story. Autonomous nervous system. Okay. Before I go to autonomous nervous system, let us take back and go back to one of the images when we did about the skeletal nervous system and the supply of the skeletal nerve, which is coming from the spinal cord and which is directly terminating on the skeletal muscle, and at that neuromuscular junction, what is the neurotransmitter that is being released, please?
Acetylcholine.
Excellent. What is it? Acetylcholine. Whether you are a fish or a frog or a reptile, bird or a mammal or a human, or as long as there is a voluntary control of the muscle, the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. The story is simple and nice and clear. okay. But autonomous nervous system becomes more interesting. When I say more interesting, I mean more complicated, okay. So more interesting, okay. Let's see this. Now this consists of actually two neurons in series. What did I say? Autonomous nervous system consists of two neurons in series. The first neuron is located in the central nervous system. It will give rise to a fiber which will come out of the central nervous system, go to some distance, it will talk to another neuron, and the second neuron will go and talk to the target organ. And in this particular case, what is the target organ that you can see on your screen? Heart. Good. So let us look at the image at the top, okay. So this is your brain. In your brain you have forebrain and midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, I can't do more than that at this level, okay. So in your hindbrain there is a very interesting organ which you call as medulla oblongata. I'm sure you have heard this word, okay. It's a part of the brain. Medulla oblongata is a part of the brain, okay. You know spinal cord, okay. The spinal cord, the connection of the spinal cord with the brain is immediately medulla oblongata, okay. It's a part of the hindbrain. So what you do, you take a section or through the medulla oblongata of the human central nervous system, so that's there at the top. And I'll draw your attention to, can you see those in the section, can you see those brown patches there? Okay, one of the patches there, can somebody please read at me that label there, can you read there? Dorsal, please read for me. Dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus. Again, dorsal, read that again.
Dorsal motor nucleus of the
Let us parse this word. Dorsal means dorsal. In the medulla it is dorsal. It's dorsal, upper side. Okay. Motor means what? Motor means it will give rise to fibers which will go away from the central nervous system and innervate some organ and control that organ. Is the author telling us dorsal sensory? No. Is using the word sensory? What word is he using? Motor. So what is he trying to imply there? That those neurons are taking the information away. Okay, alright. And then nucleus of the vagus. Here nucleus, whenever we are talking of the central nervous system, whenever we use the word nucleus, we mean what? A group of neurons. What do we use it? A group of neurons. So you have a group of neurons in the medulla oblongata, which I'll call as what, please? Dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus. What do those neurons do? They give rise to axons. What are those axons? They come out of the brain. When they come out of the brain, they actually constitute nothing but the 10th cranial nerve. What do they constitute? 10th cranial nerve. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question other than, I'll open a frog and I'll show you the vagus. The fibers are coming there, axons are going through the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve. I'll simply ask you a question. These neurons belong to neurons which are located where? Tell me again. Dorsal motor. Is it point well taken? Okay. Now those fibers will come down. Okay, those fibers come down. They actually go down your neck. Hello. They enter your thoracic cavity, and just as they go to the heart, look, don't forget, we say two neurons in series. What did I say? Two neurons. So they will go and they will terminate on two. Can you see two neurons there? They are very close to the heart, okay, and those two neurons give rise to another fiber, hello, and the second fiber terminates on the cardiac muscles. Hello, am I making sense there? So do you see the two neurons in series there? Hello, can you see the, okay, this group of neurons, this purple, these two neurons, there are hundreds of them in reality there, this is diagrammatic, that group of neurons is called as a ganglion. What do you call it as? What do you call it as? Since we call it as a ganglion, listen to this, since I call it as a ganglion, I can call this as a preganglionic fiber and I can call that as a postganglionic fiber. Okay, these words will come very often, you need to learn them by heart. The preganglionic fiber and the postganglionic fiber, and it is the postganglionic fiber that will terminate on the cardiac muscle and control the cardiac muscles. Are we good so far? Okay, this vagus and what we learned just now is a very important part of the parasympathetic nervous system. What is parasympathetic nervous system? I won't discuss anymore, okay. But what we did just now is a part of what system? So the ganglia that you see near the heart can also be called as parasympathetic ganglia. So we have just now seen that the parasympathetic ganglia is a preganglionic fiber, postganglionic fiber. The postganglionic fiber innervates the heart, okay, and good. Yeah, please.
Do these fibers change rhythmicity of SC node or they act directly on the muscles of the cardiac cells and override the SC node?
Why do you want me to say something which I am going to say after 20 minutes? You see, I am still talking anatomy, okay, just wait. Okay, this is about the, I'm just talking about anatomy, then I'll go into the functioning of the two systems. Oh, great. Now, this is the, what did we just do just now? We just now studied the anatomy of the parasympathetic supply to the heart. Are you with me so far? Parasympathetic supply. The heart has a dual nerve supply, and the second supply comes from sympathetic nervous system. Where does it come from? Sympathetic. Now, briefly, I am going to tell you about the sympathetic nervous system. For the sympathetic nervous system, I will take you to your thoracic vertebra. Hello. Thoracic vertebra, T1, T2, T3, T4. What did I say?
T1, T2,
T1, T2, T3, T4. So, your vertebra T1, T2, 4 vertebra immediately at the shoulder. From there, the 4 nerves will come out. I'll call them as spinal nerve. And some of the fibers in the spinal nerve, this is a section of your spinal cord at the level of T1, say T1 or T2, and it will you can see a neuron there. That neuron enters, it takes a rather circuitous route, but in a particular ganglion. You can see a ganglion there. I'll call it as a what ganglion? It's labeled there, please. Sympathetic ganglia. In that sympathetic ganglia also, can you see a preganglionic fiber and a postganglionic fiber? And can you trace the postganglionic fiber to the heart? Yes or no? Good. So this is so what have we done in last 5 minutes? We have tried to understand the anatomy of the sympathetic as well as parasympathetic nerve supply to the heart, and it is essentially a motor system. It is starting from the central nervous system going to one neuron. That one neuron will talk to another neuron, and the other neuron will form a neuromuscular junction on the heart. Done? Great. Now let's see. So we have the diagrammatic view of the central nervous system. You can see the brain there and the spinal cord there. From the brain, from the medulla oblongata the images are little small. I'll make them. Can you see the preganglionic fiber and the postganglionic fiber? Yes or no?
Yep.
In the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. It's not very clear, but I'll tell you. The entire parasympathetic nervous system, which starts at the level of the vagal nucleus, preganglionic fiber, talks to the second neuron, which talks to the heart. Both the neurons are cholinergic. What did I say? Both the neurons are what? So the parasympathetic nervous system is completely cholinergic. Okay. So in a way, those neuronal cell bodies in the dorsal ganglia, okay, if you look at the entire neuronal cell body, what kind of neurotransmitter are you going to find there? Acetylcholine. Acetylcholine will go all the way synaptic vesicles, and the first neuron, it will talk to the second neuron by way of acetylcholine, and the second neuron will talk to the heart again by way of acetylcholine. Okay, good. Now let's talk about the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system also, can you clearly identify the preganglionic fibers and the postganglionic fibers? Preganglionic fibers are emerging at the level of what? T1, T2, T3, T4. Are you okay? Okay, and the preganglionic fibers are going to the ganglia, sympathetic ganglia, and the sympathetic ganglia issues postganglionic fiber, which will again go and terminate in the heart. Whereas the preganglionic fibers in the case of sympathetic nervous system, which means on this side, T3, T4, T2, T3, T4, okay, they are again cholinergic. They are again what? Cholinergic. The postganglionic, sympathetic are secreting noradrenaline. What are they secreting? Noradrenaline. So I can say that if you are sitting on the heart muscle, okay, you have a double supply. Heart muscle, you will, if the parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated, you will get acetylcholine. If the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated, what will you get? Norepinephrine. What will you get? What will you get? So, see, we can, in simple language, we can say that the heart has a dual nerve supply. The parasympathetic nervous system, postganglionic issues acetylcholine, whereas the heart receives what? Norepinephrine or noradrenaline. Okay. Noradrenaline is the British name. What is it? British name. If you are in America, which name do you use? Very good. Norepinephrine. Okay. And here are the structures. Those who messed up, you can look for the correct answer here. Okay. There is a slight difference between the innervation. Just see here, these are the two vagi, plural vagus, singular vagus, plural vagi. We have from the right and left two vagi, they will go all the way, and they'll mainly, the terminals of the postganglionic fiber will mainly terminate around the SA node and the AB node. Okay, it's mainly restricted to the AV nodes, whereas the supply from the sympathetic ganglia, which are coming from T3, T2, T1, T2, T3, T4, they are supplying everywhere. Okay, the sympathetic, so heart all over the muscles get norepinephrine, and the acetylcholine is mainly confined to the. Okay, let's spend another couple of minutes to find out as to what is the effect of the stimulation of the heart by the sympathetic nervous system. Do you get the problem? So your sympathetic nervous system is stimulated. Okay, why is it stimulated? Well, it is stimulated because you are walking along the street and you are suddenly chased by a dog, and you better to save yourself, you better run. Okay, so a lot of physiological changes are going to happen in your body. Okay, like what? You start running. Number one, then you start breathing heavily, and then you find that your heart rate has gone up, and then it's possible that you are sweating. Okay, so your sympathetic nervous system has rapidly induced so many changes in physiology so that you can respond to the emergency at hand. Being chased by a dog is an emergency and you are responding to that. Okay, good. At that moment, the sympathetic nervous system, which begins at the level of T1, T2, T3, T4, the preganglionic fiber using acetylcholine will talk to the ganglion. Now the ganglion cells will give the postganglionic fiber. Those postganglionic fiber will release what neurotransmitter? Norepinephrine. And how will the norepinephrine act? Norepinephrine will act on these particular type of receptors which are sitting in the plasma membrane of the heart cell. I am talking of what? A protein which is sitting where? In the plasma membrane of what? Heart cells. And that protein is what? It's a G protein coupled, it's a receptor for norepinephrine. It's a receptor for what? Norepinephrine. If you see very carefully in that greenish structure, which is this protein goes up and down 7 times. 7 transdomain protein which is sitting there, where in the plasma membrane of the heart cell, and somewhere there is an affinity, there is a site, where it can bind to the ligand. What is the ligand? Norepinephrine. So can you see that red dot there somewhere? Hello, can you see that red dot? What is author trying to codify there? Author is trying to show that that's a tiny molecular and it is combining there, and as a result of that the protein undergoes a conformational change, and so this protein is same as this protein. This protein is bound to its ligand. What is the ligand in this particular case? Norepinephrine, and it undergoes a configurational change. It talks to yet another molecule which we call a G protein, which is heterotrimeric, which is made up of 3 subunits, and then it talks to yet another molecule which is an enzyme which we call as adenylyl cyclase. That adenylyl cyclase is activated. It will convert ATP into cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP will convert inactive protein kinase into active protein kinase, and an active protein kinase does a lots of things. Like what? It acts on the calcium channel, which is open the calcium channel. Look, what is your aim? You want to make sure that your heart beats faster. Okay, what is the key? Give more calcium. Simple, very simple. Give more calcium. Okay, how do you give more calcium? By different strategies. One, make sure that the calcium ion channel opens and calcium gets in. Act on the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is not great in the heart, but act on it. Make sure that it releases calcium, and then it stimulates, enhances actin myosin, and it does a lot of things. And as a result of that, what is the message you have at the bottom?
Cardiac contraction force and
cardiac contraction force and rhythm with which both the activities go up, and then your heart is able to beat at a much faster level, and you are able to meet the emergency, which is
Wouldn't the calcium release increase the plateau?
The answer to that question is we are getting a beat. Okay, we were getting how many beats earlier? 72. Okay, now with this phenomena, what will happen? Those you will have, instead of 72, you will have 102 beats. Point number 1. Okay. Point number 2, more calcium will be available within the cell, even within a short time. The whole system has gone up. Okay. Now look, but the heart also has to relax. So the calcium ions also have to pump back with the calcium pump into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it has also got to pumped out outside. All those changes which we have seen with reference to a single cardiac cycle, everything has to go from 72 to 82 to 92 to 102. Everything has to go. What may reduce is the interbeat interval may reduce, because you still have to fit 102 beats per minute, right? Okay. If you still have a problem, I'll discuss with you. Okay, let the class push on. You see, there is a very common condition which is called as angina pectoris, which means pain in the chest. What do you call it as? Pain in the chest. Patient may not really suffer when the patient is either resting or sitting down, but the patient does any work or any exercise, the patient is likely to have great pain in the chest. Okay, it's a very classical symptom. What is the degree of pain, or where do you actually find the pain? For that, I'll draw your attention to that image. Can you see that human being there, and can you see that there is a pain on his left side, okay, on the neck, and it can go as far as the ear, okay, and then it is the shoulder. And if you see on the left hand, it's on the left hand, it is also not everywhere, it just goes down, but it is on the finger, on the side of the little finger. Just trace where the author has indicated. So what are we having? Well, we have a patient who goes to the doctor cardiologist, and he says that I have a pain like this. Nobody knows. He just says I have pain like this. The first thing doctor will suspect is you are suffering from angina pectoris, and the reason possibly for that is in your coronary artery. So this your heart, these are coronary blood vessels, and in this coronary, which should be healthy like this, but can you see the difference between the two? There's deposition of plaque in the coronary vessels. As a result of that, the blood is not flowing as well as it should, and as a result of that, some of the heart muscles are not getting adequate amount of oxygen and glucose. As a result of that, pain. As a result of that, what? Angina pectoris. So what are we talking about? A heart condition. A heart condition. Okay. All right. Very briefly about the treatment to angina pectoris. Well, this is very well known. Angina pectoris has been there for a very long time. Okay. And the treatment for that also has been a very long time. The treatment is very interesting. What is nitroglycerin famous for? It's an explosive. Okay. Nitroglycerin is for what? Explosive. It's an explosive. Well, they give you exactly a small capsule of nitroglycerin, ask you to put it below your tongue. Okay? Yeah. Same explosive. Don't light any fire. Okay? They put it in your and you know something is very interesting. People have been using nitroglycerin and within about, it's amazing. You will get a relief. The patient will say that I have relief in about 3 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes patient will, okay, the pain may reappear, okay, but but there is instant relief, okay. So what's happening, you know, no, just listen to this amazing history of biology. Use of nitroglycerin has been known for a very long time. How it works, we didn't know till 1990. Let's just see 1990, very recent, it's only 32 years, okay. Now we know that nitroglycerin releases a gaseous molecule called NO. What is it? NO. Say that loudly. NO. Nitric oxide. Say that again. NO. Nitric oxide is a great, it's a nitric oxide. Now we know today that nitric oxide is a
dilator,
is a neurotransmitter, that does n number of functions in our brain and in our body, and one of the including relaxing the blood vessels, okay, and allowing the blood to move through. Okay, and I'll talk about the physiology of nitric oxide eventually, maybe in the second lecture or next lecture or lecture after that. So,
why there is pain in shoulder and hand, left hand? In this case,
a very relevant question. What he is asking, a very relevant question. He says when the problem is in the heart, okay, why is the patient complaining a pain right up to little finger? Why is the pain there? Very important question. Okay, this phenomenon is called as referred pain. Say that again. Say everybody, what is it called as? Referred pain. What has happened is as the sensory pain information enters into the spinal cord. Now I am talking of sensory information. I am not talking of what? Motor information. What kind of sensory information? Pain kind of sensory information. As the pain kind of sensory information enters from all your body into the as it goes towards the spinal cord and the brain, so that you know that there is pain. Are you with me? Okay, so if I cut here, okay, there will be damage here. The pain receptors will be activated. The pain receptors will take the information to the spinal cord, from the spinal cord to the thalamus, and then to the cortex, and then you know that something is wrong and there's a tissue damage and I am suffering, there is pain. The pain pathway that starts from the heart is very interesting. The pain pathway that starts from the heart, is there a pain pathway starting from the heart? Yeah, there is. Pain pathway starts, okay. The pain pathway, the pain receptors are there in the heart. They are excited in this condition, and as they take the and there are neurons in that circuit. There are neurons. Now follow this, follow the beauty. There is a neuron which is getting information from the heart. Of what information? That there is pain in the heart. The same guy gets information from the periphery and from the hand. What information? That there is pain. Where is really the pain? In the case of this, it's here. It's here, but because the pathway is same, the same neurons are doing the function, the brain has a confusion and the brain feels that it's also hurting here. So the phrase the medical people used is, the pain is actually in the heart, it is being referred to the periphery. Get the meaning of the word what? Referred, sent to periphery. Is there anything wrong in this part of the body? No, there is nothing wrong. Okay, actually it is the circuit that is overlapping. Circuit for what? Pain, coming from where? Heart, and where? This part of your body. And when that information enters into the brain is confused. Brain doesn't know whether the problem is coming from, and brain is okay. Have I answered your question? Great. A revolution, absolute revolution. If heart can be stimulated by sympathetic nervous system, and if there's a patient with high blood pressure, and if the patient has a problem, if the heart starts beating very high, why would there be a problem? Well, he has a problem, something like some coronary blood vessels have occluded. He can't really work. You don't want his heart to pump faster, okay? Because the blood can't flow at that rate in the coronaries. Okay, so one very simple and great strategy would be to find a drug that will specifically block the receptor which we saw in the previous slide. You remember what was the receptor we saw? The receptor for norepinephrine. We saw the receptor for the norepinephrine. Okay, that kind of receptor which is sitting in the heart. Okay, step back. The receptors which are sensitive to norepinephrine, there's not one, there are half a dozen. Okay, there are different protein systems. Okay, and they all with different affinity respond to norepinephrine. So I classify them. I'll class them alpha, beta, alpha 1, beta 1, etc. I have a classification. So if I take you back, I'll take you back. This kind of, the author is what the sequence of cascade of events that we have seen which are triggered by norepinephrine. That receptor falls into what category? Say that again. Beta 1 adrenergic receptor. What do you call it as? Beta 1. What is that receptor? It's a 7-transmembrane protein. It's there. Beta 1. Is the beta 2 is also there? Beta 2 is also there. It's somewhere else. We are not talking about it. We are just talking about beta 1. Are you with me? Okay. Now the great contribution of Sir James W. Black is that he came up with a drug which can selectively block that receptor. Okay. Which one? Beta 1, okay, and beta 1 adrenergic is more or less confined to heart. Okay, there are exceptions but confined to heart. If you can block those receptors, then the sympathetic nervous system will not excessively stimulate the heart. Okay, and then we have yet another class of compounds which you call the beta blockers. What do you call them as? Beta blockers. So within the framework of this class, so far I have given you 3 interesting drugs which can help you to alleviate or to mitigate the problem of the heart. Can you tell me number 1? One is one. Calcium antagonist. Remember that? Calcium antagonist. Okay. What was the second family of drugs? No, nitroglycerin. What is it? Nitroglycerin. Which is the third one? Beta blocker. And one of the most widely used, I want you to read the last para. Sir James W. Black found the first clinically significant beta blocker called as what? Propranolol. What do you call it as? Propranolol. So I have a very simple question for you. The moment you meet somebody, you meet a patient with hypertension or high blood pressure, You meet somebody, you are going to ask him or her two questions. Number one, which drug are you taking? and are you taking a beta blocker? Are you with me? What question are you going to ask? Are you taking what? A beta blocker. No, then are you taking a calcium antagonist? Are you getting the argument? Because now we have been introduced to these two very interesting drugs which are being used in clinical practice every day. Okay, and one of them is propranolol, etc. and Nobel Prize 1988, a great. And you know, the beauty of this drug is hardly any toxicity. Okay, so you'll find that those people who have been on treatment with high blood pressure 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, okay, they'll take a tiny tablet. Okay, all right. So this is about. Let us also take a look at, let us find out the rationale for these drugs. In front of you is the structure of norepinephrine. Hello? Next time I am going to ask you to draw the structure of norepinephrine. Okay? Okay, that's my way of making sure that you remember. You see, these two are basic molecules, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. You have to know the structure. So that is norepinephrine, this is epinephrine. Okay, epinephrine doesn't come from the sympathetic nervous system. Epinephrine comes from adrenal medulla. What did I say? And which comes in the blood. So which comes via the blood. And look at the structure of propranolol. Do you appreciate that it's not very different? Okay, this propranolol. Okay, and then the propranolol. And how does the propranolol act? This is the 7 transmembrane cartoon here, 7 transmembrane protein. This is the site where the norepinephrine will act, that would be blocked by propranolol. Then you have no ATP, no cyclic AMP, and this system is suppressed, and thereby it gives you its clinical effect.